It's a breezy, sunny, 73-degree late Saturday afternoon at Baltimore's Pimlico Racecourse. The track is fast, and some 120,000 have gathered for the second jewel of racing's Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes. After his rousing 6.5-length victory 2 weeks ago at Churchill Downs, Barbaro is, as we speak, a 3-to-5 favorite to take the step that will take him to the doorstep of the Triple Crown. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. 17 of the 19 horses Barbaro left in his wake at the Derby are not in this Preakness field. In today's field of 9, only Brother Derek and Sweet Northern Saint are back for another run at it. We've already heard a lot of talk about Barbaro being a super horse, about the Triple Crown being a real possibility. Of course, we've heard a lot of that in recent years. 6 of the last 9 Derby winners have gone on to take the Preakness, only to stumble at the Belmont. And so we still haven't had a Triple Crown winner since affirmed in 1978. The question then is rightly asked, why is this horse, Barbaro, different?
I had his older brother, and he was a very nice horse, and he still is. But everybody kept saying, wait till you see his little brother. And when his little brother came in, he wasn't the little brother, he was the big brother. We always had high hopes for him, but I think it was after his first race that we really thought we have something special here.
He saw it before we did. He saw a horse that could change his life, maybe chase history. Then, before the sport's biggest race, the trainer rested his brewing champion for 5 weeks, challenging decades of wisdom that a horse idled too long loses its edge. But Michael Matz trusted himself, trusted what he'd learned in a lifetime as a horseman.
Finally, when they started calling for the horses to go over, you start to realize that all we've been working for all year is it's going to happen in 2 minutes.
And they are off in the Kentucky Derby. Here's that cavalry charge bias for the first time. Barbaro in the clear, poised as they move into the far turn. And here comes Barbaro. The undefeated Barbaro takes the lead in the Kentucky Derby. Barbaro turns it on. And it is all Barbaro in a sublime performance.
When Barbaro crossed the finish line, my feeling at that point was that I couldn't believe that we just won the Kentucky Derby.
6.5 lengths, the largest margin of victory in the Derby in 60 years. And in the victory was vindication, as his fully rested horse finished with a forbidding, astonishing ease.
Michael Matz, Kentucky Derby champion, I don't look at it that way. I look at Barbaro, Kentucky Derby champion. He did all the work. I really just along for the ride.
Classic and powerful. Of such spectacular specimens are paintings made. Is this the super horse long awaited? Is this the quietly defiant trainer who lead him to racing's holy grail? Today, another measure of greatness awaits.
I'd love to see him get past the Preakness and be a Triple Crown winner. I think it would be good for the horse and the public, the racing public, to have a superstar that they can, you know, watch run again.
He saw it before we did. The horse that could change his life and maybe chase history. Unfolding at a racecourse founded in 1870 and trailing only Saratoga in longevity. It's the biggest sports event in Maryland with what appears to be a record crowd between 115,000 and 120,000. About half of those fans have joined the infield party. And if you arrived early, you could get a hand with your cooler, another Preakness tradition. In the stands, spring finery is on display. And the action at the windows is brisk. Last year, over $63 million was bet on the Preakness across the country. The tension is building in the jocks room. Edgar Prado reached a milestone with his first Derby win now takes aim at the Preakness. And Prado's Mount is the star of the show, Barbaro, in the corner stall of the stakes barn, reserved for the Derby winner. And on the track this morning to stretch his legs at Pimlico for the first time. He arrived yesterday afternoon after about an hour trip from his training base in Fair Hill, Maryland. Preakness Day is a beautiful one in Baltimore in the mid-70s, and the track fast for today's race. The Preakness is $1 million guaranteed. It's over 1 mile and 3/16. That's a 16th of a mile shorter than the Kentucky Derby. All 3-year-olds all carry 126 pounds. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pimlico for the 131st running of the Preakness, presented by Vonage. It's the second jewel in the Triple Crown. I'm Tom Hammond. Well, 2 weeks ago, Barbaro had no sooner crossed the finish line at Churchill Downs than the talk of a Triple Crown began. Not only did he remain unbeaten, now 6 for 6, but it was the manner in which he accomplished his Derby victory. He just did it so easily. The margin was 6.5 lengths, and that's the greatest margin since Assault won by 8 lengths on his way to the Triple Crown 60 years ago. Ironically, Barbaro's trainer Michael Matz is married to the granddaughter of Assault's owner, Robert Kleberg of King Ranch. Also 2 weeks ago, Barbaro's final quarter was the fastest since Secretariat's record-setting Derby time in 1973. And maybe the ultimate token of respect, the fact that only 2 of the 19 that faced him in the Derby now return for the Preakness, and most of them are not given much of a chance. Barbaro is the 3-5 favorite at the moment. Brother Derek, dead heated for 4th in the Derby at 3-1, and Sweet Northern Saint from the Derby also at 8-1. The new horses all double digits, led by Bernardini, who is 11-1. On Point Given and on Silver Charm. And Gary, Barbaro's victory was something to see at Churchill Downs, but the 2 horses that come to Pimlico from Churchill Downs that ran in the Derby had excuses, especially Brother Derek.
Yeah, Brother Derek's getting some action right now at 3-1, and one reason for that, there are so many things that can go wrong in the Kentucky Derby. Let's go for a ride right now with Alex Solis. He comes away, he gets a clean break right here. That's about the only thing that goes right in this race. He's looking over right now, trying to find a way to feather his way over to the rail where he can save some ground. It's not happening. Frustration starts setting in here a little bit right now because the turn is fast approaching. He knows he's going to have to give up valuable ground around this first turn. There's something else that goes wrong that Alex doesn't know is happening right now. He blows his right front shoe right here. Now, he's got over 1 mile to run with only 3 shoes. You see it come up here and hit Flashy Bull in the neck right there. And as I say, he's got over 1 mile to go with only 3 shoes on, and that takes its toll on a horse right there. As they move into the backstretch, again, Alex in not too bad of a position here. He's got 2 horses in front of him. Looks like he's going to split these horses, and as they come together, he's got to make another decision, and that is to sit there and wait until he comes up on the final turn and lose some more ground. He finds himself clear back in 16th position right here, not where he wants to be, with a wall of horses in front of him, no choice but to go around. Again, more frustration. As he enters the stretch, finds himself 9 wide, and with a horse like Barbaro up in front of him, I think right now he knows he has no opportunity to win. What's surprising is after losing the shoe and everything else is his determination to come on and finish in a dead heat for 4th. Right now, Alex knows he's got 2 weeks to come back and set the matter straight again with the winner of the race. So losing that amount of ground and everything, I think you've got to give this horse a great chance today of doing some damage.
And it was pretty impressive that he was able to close despite all his adversity. There's Alex Solis live in the jockey's room here at Pimlico, biding his time before time to don those Cecil Peacock silks and head down to mount Brother Derek. Well, of course, we talked about that lost shoe. Despite the wide trip and the lost shoe is like a ball player losing his cleats. And for more on that lost shoe, let's go from here in the grandstand back to the stakes barn where the horses are stabled and check in with Bob Newmeyer.
All right, Tom Hammond, you know, when Brother Derek ran his debut race last May as a 2-year-old, he ran with a traditional racing shoe, and that's a farrier, gets a hammer like this and basically pounds a nail through the shoe into the hoof of the foot. But after the race, Brother Derek became sore, and trainer Dan Hendricks took a look and said, we're going to lose the hammer, we're going to forget about the nails, and we're going to go to the glue. So he wears glue-on shoes, and what the farrier does is basically put glue that surround this horseshoe, attach it to the hoof, and it's worked out beautifully for Brother Derek. He's run every race with glue-on shoes, except for that problem last week at Churchill Downs. So hopefully the glue works a little better this week than it did 2 weeks ago. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Numi. And 2 weeks ago, most people didn't even know who Barbaro was. You heard him mispronouncing his name. He was unknown outside the racing world. You'd hear him say Barbaro and Barbaro, but after his decisive win in the Kentucky Derby, he became an instant celebrity. Barbaro. People know his name now. When you win the Derby by 6.5 lengths, people take notice. Barbaro took one of the toughest races in the world. He made it look like a Sunday jog in the park. Now today, he's the overwhelming favorite as he takes on Brother Derek and Sweet Northern Saint, 2 horses he defeated soundly in the Kentucky Derby. Also today, 6 new shooters. One of those new shooters is Hemingway's Key. He's trained by Nick Zito. Earlier today, he talked with Bob Costas.
Hall of Fame trainer Nick Zito is synonymous with 3-year-olds in springtime. Last year, he saddled 5 in the Kentucky Derby, did not have a starter at Churchill Downs a couple of weeks ago, and now comes into the Preakness with Hemingway's Key. What made you decide to run him?
Well, Bobby's a horse with tremendous talent. Obviously, I haven't brought it out of him yet, and I said, why not try to shoot it all and try to see how he could run in the Preakness. It's a tremendous race, and if he's going to show up, let him show up, and when it counts.
Hemingway's Key is George Steinbrenner's horse. Now, the skeptics are saying Hall of Fame trainer Nick Zito, very good jockey Jeremy Rose, who was aboard of Fleet Alex in last year's Preakness and Belmont wins, but really not a world-class horse. Somebody told me yesterday it's a little bit like George sending his AAA team up against the Red Sox.
I wouldn't go that far, but on the other hand, it's horse racing, Bob, and anything could happen. Thank you for the compliment. Thank you for talking about George, Jeremy, and myself. But on the other hand, our system is to play the game. We walk, a certain way. I mean, this is what we like to do. This is our style, and I think he's got a lot of talent, and why not show it today? But, hey, listen, it's horse racing. It's different than the Yankees.
You know that better than most. After all, Birdstone was something like 36-1 when he denied Smarty Jones at the Belmont a couple of years ago. Birdstone was your horse.
Yeah, he didn't deny me. That was great. I mean, that was a blessing, and that's exactly right. And that's why we're playing the game today. Anything can happen in a race, and especially a race of this magnitude. For some reason, you never know which foot goes which way in these big races. And sometimes you just say, you know what? I have a good feeling. Let me go with it.
Nick, thanks a lot. Good luck today.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Nick Zito.
Bob, we've already documented the horrific trip that Brother Derek had at Churchill Downs in the Derby 2 weeks ago. But other horses had their share of traffic problems as well. Here's Donna Brothers.
Bob, you're right. Sweet Northern Saint had a terrible trip in the Kentucky Derby. This is a horse who's used to being on or near the lead in every one of his starts. This race, he breaks a step slow, gets jostled around at the start. By the time he goes a 16th of a mile, as you can see here, he's got 2 horses beat. He runs into the first turn and makes it all the way up to 12th. He makes it all the way up to 5th coming out of the first turn, and by the second turn, he's 3rd, only to fade to 7th through the stretch. I talked to Kent DeSormo earlier today, and he just said that this is a horse who's used to being forwardly placed, and he just kept dragging him up there. So he obviously made an early move that he didn't intend to do. But he learned a lot that day. He learned an awful lot about traffic and rating and an awful lot about getting dirt in his face. And Gary, I guess it's yet to be seen. We'll find out today if that experience is going to help him or if it kind of wore him out to run back in 2 weeks. What do you think?
Donna, it's my experience in riding in the big races like this. When you have rough trips, as Sweet Northern Saint did and Brother Derek, it's going to wear them out a little bit. They've only had 2 weeks to recover. Brother Derek, he ran a lot further in that race than the winner did Barbaro, so it's got to knock him out a little bit, and Alex Solis, he knows that. And in the back of Kent DeSormo's mind, I think he knows as well that his horse is going to be a little bit knocked out today and might have to be a little bit conservative early with him.
Well, Sweet Northern Saint is stable just across the county here at Laurel Racecourse. He didn't make an appearance at Pimlico until this morning, and when he got here, it was completely different surroundings than what he had seen over at Laurel, because this place is a madhouse. Kenny Rice is out there right in the middle of it somewhere.
Tom, with about 120,000 people here today.
The race, discover how MetLife can prepare and protect your future at MetLife.com. Well, 2 weeks ago when Barbaro won the Kentucky Derby, it made Michael Matz the celebrity, and he's had Lots of demands on his time from the media, and I think he was kind of overwhelmed by all the attention, but he has gotten a chuckle or two, especially yesterday when he left Fair Hill, right in the neighborhood, heading to Baltimore. He saw a sign out front one of the houses that said, "Barbaro for President." And Bob Costas, he's been really a delight to work with, even though I think his head has been spinning with all the attention.
Yeah, you're right on both counts, Tom. You know, when Michael Matz came to the Derby with Barbaro, the focus was first and foremost on the most dramatic aspect of Matz's life, the day in Iowa in 1989 when he saved 3 kids from the burning wreck of United Flight 232. Then after the Derby win, the focus shifted to Matz the horseman, especially the very unorthodox strategy of resting his horse for 5 weeks before the race. But when you think about it, the unorthodox is almost typical for Matz, a guy whose trip to the Derby and now the Preakness has followed anything but the usual path.
Michael's desire to get started with horses came as a surprise to the whole family. Michael's father was a plumber, and we didn't know that much ourselves about horses. We couldn't see a future in it.
And it is all Barbaro in a sublime performance.
Irene and Lester Matz raised their family in a small 3-bedroom home. Michael was plumber's assistant to his dad during the summers. Then a weekend job cutting lawns ended up being an unlikely passport into an entirely new existence.
You look pretty good today, Peter.
He was asked by one of my husband's friends to come and cut the lawn at his farm. On the farm, Mr. Cole had horses. Then one day he asked Michael to get on the horse.
When I first started to get in the horses, my parents were a little bit upset because they didn't know where it was going to lead to. It wasn't that they were mad, they just didn't know what the situation was.
The plumber's son knew the value of hard work. By age 25, he was already an Olympian, competing in show jumping at the 1976 Montreal Games. But in qualifying for those games, he'd ridden the life out of his mount, Grande. Then in Montreal, when it mattered most, the horse had little left.
I'll never forget sitting there after my round and had 28 faults. I thought I rode okay, except my horse jumped about 2 inches too low at just about every fence. I just thought that I could have done something better, and I think I overjumped my horse and trained him too hard. And I just remember driving home from Montreal to my farm in Pennsylvania and felt I'm never going to let this happen to me again.
He'd compete in 2 more Olympics, winning silver in Atlanta in 1996. Moving from show jumping rider to thoroughbred trainer requires a fundamentally different level of expertise. So Matz has made another unlikely career turn. But from that past life came a lesson and the boldness to run his first true Triple Crown horse on 5 weeks rest. Then, at this latest moment of truth, Barbaro raced near a peak of perfection.
After I saw it, my knees were wobbly and I sat down. Cross that out.
Being the trainer of a Kentucky Derby winner is a great feeling, something that I can always remember.
Son of a plumber, horseman by accident, Olympic medalist, now Derby-winning trainer. What might be next in the unlikely story of the working-class boy from Shillington, Pennsylvania?
My hope is and my prayers are that he will go all the way and be the winner both races that are coming up. I'm right behind him, and I know he'll do it.
And a few moments ago here at Pimlico, pacing back in the stakes barn by Barbaro's stall, the Olympian and hero Michael Matz, hoping to add the Preakness to his Derby victory. You may remember the horse's name, Barbaro, comes from a prized foxhound and a family heirloom painting that hangs in the West Grove, Pennsylvania home of the colt's owners and breeders, Roy and Gretchen Jackson. They're the third straight Philadelphia area owners to win a Triple Crown race, joining Smarty Jones and a Fleet Alex. Gretchen is a former equestrian. Roy was involved in minor league baseball. 2 weeks ago, not only did they win the Kentucky Derby, but a horse they bred and sold, George Washington, won the 2000 Guineas, the first leg of the English Triple Crown. Well, they've been involved with thoroughbreds now about 30 years, so they're not neophytes. They know the business pretty well, and they're with Donna Brothers.
Well, Mrs. Jackson, you've got a background as an equestrian rider yourself, just like Michael. Did that play a role in you selecting Michael Matz as the trainer for Barbaro?
I don't think so. I should take that back. It probably did, because I appreciated the fact that he was such a good rider and seemed to communicate through body language with his horse and could read their body language when you saw him ride a horse during the showing years.
Yeah, he's absolutely famous for that, and obviously you knew about it from your riding background. You've had a long and varied history in minor league baseball leagues. Are there any similarities between managing minor league baseball leagues and managing a racing stable?
The business end of it is somewhat the same, but it's completely different, because here you have just an individual horse, and there we had 9 ball players and everything. There are dissimilarities. As Mr. Steinbrenner said, horses in the horse business, we don't have agents and they don't talk back.
That's awfully nice. And Tom, I got to tell you, you can tell that Mr. and Mrs. Jackson are friends and like each other, but they also tease each other like they've been married for 46 years, as they have been. Good luck to you guys. Tom.
Well, the other member of the Barbaro team, Matz, the Jacksons, there's Alex Solis. They'll have to for Edgar, who lost the inspiration in his life, his mother Zenaida, to cancer in January. He'd applied for a visa to have her come to the States for treatment, but it was delayed indefinitely until finally the papers arrived the day before she died. Earlier today, Edgar spoke with Donna Brothers.
Edgar, right after you won the Kentucky Derby, you dedicated the win immediately to your mother, who passed away in January, and later you've said that she was an inspiration to you. In what ways has she inspired you?
Well, I not only dedicate a race to my mother. Every race that I won and everything that I do in life, I thank my mother for everything she done for me. She encouraged me so much to continue to ride and come here and never give up. Just keep on trying hard and try to be the same person that you was when I left Peru.
I remember you saying that she also inspired you to keep a strong work ethic in spite of the fact that the first couple of years here were tough for you, but then you went on to win 14 leading rider titles here at Pimlico in the 90s, which was pretty incredible coming from Peru. Unbelievably, you haven't won the Preakness Stakes yet. What would it mean to you to win that race?
Well, it will be a gratitude to all the people that helped me out right here in Maryland. It'll be excellent, I've been having a lot of fun, and I've been super for many years. And I couldn't done it without the help of the people in Maryland. They've been great to me through the years, and I think that if they win the Preakness, that will be for them.
I think you'll have a lot of people in Maryland rooting for you, and I'm sure your mother's going to be rooting for you too. Good luck, Edgar.
Thank you, and I hope that everybody have a great time here. That's what it's all about, enjoy the show.
And also rooting for Edgar will be his brother Annabelle, who rides at Philadelphia Park in the States. That's the blimp shot, zeroing in on the stakes barn. Very convenient here at Pimlico. That's where all the Preakness horses are stabled, and already a big crowd gathering around them. They'll soon be walking over to be saddled for the 131st Preakness. Them to run against a horse so dominant in Louisville.
We might be looking at a great horse, one of the great ones in history.
Obviously went to the mountain and climbed it pretty easy.
They know what they're up against.
Superior. Barbaro is a superior horse. This colt is a colt that was drawing away from them without the whip. It's just very, very impressive.
But in spite of the presence of a forbidding favorite, all the new shooters can provide a reason for being here. Bernardini, and like now, can claim to be legitimate challengers.
We're not here to finish 4th or 5th. We're here to try and win the race.
As for Platinum Couple, the biggest long shot of all, trainer Joe Lestrito indeed had second thoughts.
We have a large family, 7 kids, plus the husbands and wives, 16 grandchildren, and 2 on the way. So it's great, and we put everything to a vote. We're like the United Nations.
The clincher, however, was something said by grandson Glenn.
I said, if George Mason can do it, why can't we?
For Diabolical's trainer, Steve Klaseris, a good showing will be good enough.
There's no question. I mean, any placing in a race like this is enormous. It's enormous for the horse's career, for everything.
Preakness and Derby winner Nick Zito has Hemingway's key. And though his boss is demanding Yankees owner George Steinbrenner, Zito isn't looking for a home run.
Just get a hit, and I call a hit in the money. If he could get a hit, and he could be second or third, that'd be great. Then he'd come up big.
Meantime, Tom Albertrani's boss is the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed, who's thirsty to secure his first ever Triple Crown victory.
He doesn't put a lot of pressure on us, and whatever happens at the end of the day, we're going to still walk with our heads tall.
The new shooters, some are here to win, and some, like Joe Lestrito, are betting on hope and the unpredictability of sports.
The song was Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I think this has been my life, and I believe this is the story of our life. We always want above the rainbow, and it does exist.
And the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
And there can be a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, even if you don't win. $200,000 to second, $100,000 to third, $50,000 for finishing fourth. And of course, a lot of people think Barbaro is the one you'll have to beat today. He's a 3-5 favorite, and people bet on horses for lots of different reasons, right, Bob?
I'm in seventh heaven here, Tom, in the simulcast floor here at Pimlico. This is a place where people can bet on any racetrack, any amount of money, and they're all trying to pick a winner. So how do you pick a winner? Well, you can analyze the past performances, or you can pick a number or a color. But a family in New York, in Rochester, New York, took it one step farther, and I cannot make this up. You're looking at the Barbaro family. This is 7-year-old Giacomo Barbaro on your left and his dad, Jim. Last year, his dad bet Giacomo, the son's first name to win, 50-1 winner. This year, he bet the last name Barbaro, a 6-1 winner. Shakespeare once said, it's all in a name, or what's in a name, but he was wrong, because in the Barbaro family, Giacomo Barbaro meant money. Tom, back to you.
All right, Bob, and somewhere across America, somebody named Bernardini is trying to find a betting window. And the official jockey's photo. This records the jockeys in the Preakness in their race silks for posterity. You see on the right Alex Solis in the peacock silks, and you got to look at Edgar Prado in the Barbaro silks. Well, Pimlico is sort of a quirky racetrack. We hear all the time that the turns are tight, it favors speed. We do know the stretch is shorter than Churchill Downs, and it's about 10 feet narrower than Churchill Downs. But the subject of our Charles Schwab conversation today with Gary is Pimlico, perception versus reality.
Well, the perception is that these turns are tighter than anywhere else of these major racetracks. That's not reality. Reality is that they are exactly alike. And what that does is it forces a lot of riders to think that they've got to use their horse early, and they're not patient with their horses. When they turn down the backside, you've got to have that same patience that you do at Churchill Downs. And the reason for that, we've got a stretch that's a little bit shorter than what we have at Churchill Downs, but here we see a Fleet Alex. This is well inside of the quarter pole. When he stumbles last year, Clips Hill stumbles, and you would think that there's absolutely no opportunity that he can recover and run on and win this race. There's plenty of time to get it done if a guy is patient. The third thing you have to do, you've got to stay focused on the reality of this race. Don't get caught up in the myths of Old Hilltop here at Pimlico.
All right, and you can see first running of the Preakness Stakes. Of course, Barbaro won the Derby. Everyone thought that he was going to go off as the favorite until last moment it was Sweet Northern Saint. And our handicappers had the winner, Barbaro. Well, at least Bob had him. Let's go to Bob and Mike.
Thanks, Tom. And Bob, congratulations on picking Barbaro.
The money's already spent. Don't worry about a thing.
He was 6-1 in the Derby, so I'm just going to assume you're taking him back today at 4-5.
Wrong. The theme of the show, if you've listened, has been patience and time. 8 weeks into the Florida Derby, an unprecedented 5 weeks into the Kentucky Derby. Now there is no time. Just 2 weeks off a big effort, Mike. I can't see it happening today.
Did you see the Kentucky Derby?
Hey, I was smiling. I was the guy that had it. But horses have a tough time repeating efforts, and that's why I'm going going elsewhere today, and that is Bernardini, because he is the Barbaro of the Preakness. And I want to show you this incredible race at Aqueduct. It's the Withers Stakes at a flat mile. Beautifully bred son of AP&D. Look at the long, effortless stride. And Javier Castellano, Mike, even drops the stick in mid-stretch and gallops away to an easy win. Plus, what a delicious price on the tote board. 12-1 right now on this lightly raced horse. I know he's seasoning. He's only had 3 races.
A lot of potential. I'm not sure he can do it today. I think that Barbaro is the Barbaro of the Preakness. You can't win the Kentucky Derby any easier than he did. Watch Edgar Prado here in the stretch. He raises his arm to hit the horse. Look at this. He looked back under his arm at the same time, thought, I don't need to do that. You talked about Castellano dropping his whip. Edgar Prado could have thrown his whip into the infield.
Mike, 2 weeks, there's no time. There's not enough time here to recover.
Look at how easy this horse wins. He wins very easily. It didn't take a lot out of him, as it will do it to some Derby horses. This is a relatively fresh horse. He's going to win today.
All right, so we have one for the favorite and one for Bernardini, but I'll mention another B, because you've got to put Brother Derek in the mix off the bad trip in Louisville.
Definitely. I think he'll be out there pressing it. I think Sweet Northern Saint also had the bad trip also, but to me, this one is all about Barbaro.
We'll see.
Tom?
All right, guys, and the Cyber Cappers agree with you. They like Barbaro. If you'd like to see how you fare against our handicappers, you can log on to... We're back at Pimlico, where a few moments ago the jockeys filed down the steps from the jockeys' room here at Pimlico to walk across the main track to the turf course to get their riding instructions and a leg up eventually on their mounts for the Preakness. And this is Barbaro live, still being walked around. They're keeping him walking all during the saddling process. In fact, we saw before we went to break, actually saddling him on the fly. And the reason why, well, his last 2 races, he's sort of acted up. This is the Florida Derby. Watch when Michael Matz tightens the girth. Jumps around at a handful, and then at the Kentucky Derby in the paddock. Nearly pinned Matz against the wall, but was okay. Of course, it didn't hurt his performance at all, because he would go on to win both those races en route to that perfect 6-4-6 record. And there's Edgar Prado talking to Michael Matz and Peter Brett, who's the assistant. And there was one horse missing from the saddling out in front of the stands on the turf course, and that was Brother Derek. He was saddled inside in the regular paddock, and right now Bob Newmeyer's in there.
Well, thanks, Tom. With trainer Dan Hendricks, the only horse to saddle inside with his young son Gregory. Can you take the race to Barbaro from the starting gate this week, as you were unable to do at Churchill Downs 2 weeks ago?
That's going to be up to Alex when they break, but yes, we're going to try and get the jump on him this time and make him come get us.
You told me earlier this week you'd love to be second or third going into that first turn and force Barbaro to come around you. Do you still feel that's the right strategy?
I feel so. I feel that's what we've decided, and that's what Alex take it to him.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Tom.
All right, Bob, and you may remember the story, Dan Hendricks from the Derby, that paralyzed in a motorcycle accident a couple of years ago and confined to a wheelchair. So Brother Derek saddled inside. Let's go down to Mike Battaglia, again out in front of the stands, as you see Hendricks and Brother Derek underneath the grandstand. Let's go to Mike.
All right, thanks to George Weaver, trainer of Greeley's Legacy. And George, you wanted to run this horse in the Derby. You didn't have enough earnings to get in. Could that have been a blessing in disguise?
It probably would be. Coming back from the Wood to the Lexington in 2 weeks and then back in the Derby in 2 weeks, it probably was a little much to ask. And so finishing fourth in the Lexington wasn't the end of the world. We're glad to be here. I've got 4 weeks from the last race, and he worked excellent the other day in 58 and change. And we're coming into it the way we want to.
George.
Preakness Day is all about horses, of course, and earlier this afternoon, here are some horses that turned heads. They are the famous Budweiser Clydesdales, who paraded in front of the grandstand here at Pimlico. You should have seen the jockeys. They all came out of the jockeys' room onto their little porch to get a good view of the Clydesdales as they went by. You know it's a big event when the Budweiser Clydesdales are on hand. And it's time now for our Budweiser selections, brought to you by Budweiser Select. We already know that Bob Newmeyer's picked Bernardini for the upset, and Mike took Barbaro to repeat. Gary Stevens, who do you like?
Well, I liked him in the Kentucky Derby. I love him today. My Budweiser Select pick is Barbaro.
So Barbaro, 2 votes for Barbaro and 1 for Bernardini on our Budweiser selections. Beginning of the singing of Maryland, My Maryland.
Thou wilt not cower in the dust. Maryland, my Maryland, thy gleaming sword shall never rust. Maryland, my Maryland, remember Carroll's sacred trust. Remember Howard's warlike thrust, and all thy songbirds with the just. Maryland, my Maryland.
And here are the horses for the 131st Preakness. Number 1, Like Now, who passed the Derby to prepare for the Preakness. Winner of the Gotham, second in the Lexington, with a big rider change today from young Fernando Jara to Garrett Gomez. Number 2, Platinum Couple, the actual Platinum Couple, trainer Joe Lestrito and his wife Angela, who've been married for 48 years. And this is a family affair. 4 family members, the breeders and owners, 32 family members here to cheer this long shot. 3, Hemingway's Key in the colors of George Steinbrenner's Kinsman stable. Jeremy Rose, who won last year with the Fleet Alex. He's 0 for 4 this year. Nick Zito takes the blinkers off today. Zito, 10 years ago, won the Preakness with Louis Quatorze. 4, Greeley's Legacy. Preakness debut for owner Flanagan, trainer Weaver. The 5th for jockey McGlory, who has yet to win. The colt chased Like Now on both the Gotham and the Lexington. 5 is Brother Derek, sure to get a better trip today than in the Derby, likely to show more speed. Remember, he has won 4 of his last 5 races. Number 6, Barbaro. Super horse or just very good? Can he come back in 2 weeks? So far, he's answered every question with a resoundingly positive performance. If he wins today, most horsemen feel the Belmont will be easier for him. 7, Sweet Northern Saint. It would be sweet indeed for the Baltimore crew associated with this horse, the last Maryland horse to win the Preakness, deputed testimony in 1983. 8 is Bernardini, royally bred with a ton of potential. He won the Withers by nearly 4 lengths despite jockey Castellano dropping his whip, but he's made only those 3 starts, very inexperienced. And number 9, Diabolical, does have a touch of the devil in him, according to trainer Steve Closeris. The colt was second to Barbaro in the Laurel Futurity on grass last year and able to keep an eye on the Derby winners since both of them train at Fair Hill, Maryland. And there are your Bob, and there is Barbaro and his warm-up under Edgar Prado. And my 2 former jockeys, my 2 experts in confirmation. How did you see Barbaro as he came out of that grueling Derby and came to Pimlico for the Preakness? Did he look like he was drawn or had lost any weight, or did he look as robust as he had all spring?
Tom, he's looked spectacular to me ever since the Kentucky Derby. We saw him playing in his round corral earlier this week, just having a good time. He's carried his weight very, very well, and he looked just unbelievable out on the racetrack, in the post parade. And see him acting up a little bit right there, just feeling good. But Donna, is there anything remarkable in the post parade that you can see from your vantage point?
Well, I really think the thing that catches my eye the most in the post parade is, like you said, Barbaro looks great. I really expected for him to come out of the Derby just a little bit light, not hold his weight well. That was a tough race, but apparently it wasn't a tough race because he looks great. Sweet Northern Saint and Brother Derek, I wish I could say that they looked equally well, but they look like they've tucked up just a little bit since the Derby, and it's not exactly what I'd want to see if I was the trainer. But certainly, they deserve to run in here today. The horse that I like at a price from the post parade is Bernardini. Now, I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat Barbaro, as good as Barbaro looks today. But at a price, I'd have to throw him into the bottom of the exact as good as he looks. He's certainly royally bred, and he shows it, Gary.
I agree with you, Donna. And he's drawn really well on the outside with the sounds that they're going to go with the speed with Like Now. They're going to send Brother Derek away from there. Barbaro, I think, is going to wind up with the perfect stalking trip. And I want to ask you a question about how Kent has warmed up Sweet Northern Saint. Has he tried to put him on his toes at all?
No, not as much as I thought he would. I sure thought he'd try to get him, up under him. But no, he's really been kind of quiet with him. The horse that I think really has had the most warming up is Barbaro, actually, of all the horses. I thought they'd try to keep him kind of quiet, and he's warmed up a little bit more than the rest of them did. So I'm pretty sure they plan on having him forwardly placed today.
Don, I don't know if you could see it or not, but we had a tight shot of him a moment ago, Barbaro I'm speaking of, and he was sort of bouncing up and down. Is that just because he's feeling good?
I think so, because he really didn't look like he turned a hair when he walked out onto the racetrack, and the crowd kicked up and started screaming, and the bugler blew his horn. It didn't look like it fazed him at all. I think he's just, he knows he's ready for the fight, and it's just about time to go, and he's ready to do it.
Alex, his dad telling him this is going to be a good one for our horse Barbaro. Let's see. His other son, Robert. And Dan Hendricks watching underneath the stands with his connections crowded around him. Tom Albatrani, the trainer of Bernardini, no respect. They misspelled his name on both his stall webbing and on the saddle cloth. But if he can pull the upset today in only his 4th career start, they'll learn how to spell his name and then some. And there's Barbaro. He's been the favorite from the start. Even money on the morning line and 3 to 5 all afternoon. You remember 2 weeks ago at the Derby, the late money came in on Sweet Northern Saint to make him the favorite, but no late money on him today, just 8 to 1. It's been all Barbaro, Bob.
Yeah, I've been watching this tote board closely, Tom, on Barbaro. If you bet 100 on him last week or 2 weeks ago at the Derby, you'd get back 710. That includes the 100 that you bet. Today you'd get back about 160, including the 100 that you put down. So he's up there at 60 cents on the dollar, and you say, well, is he the biggest favorite in the history of the Preakness? And the answer is a resounding no. Local favorite Spectacular Bid went off at 10 cents on the dollar back in the day, and most recently Fusaichi Pegasus reminds me a little bit, and all of the hype that surrounded Barbaro went off at 30 cents on the dollar. He's just clicked, Tom, to 1 to 2. 50 cents on the dollar on the last click on Barbaro in this race. Make no mistake, the bandwagon is rolling on Barbaro, Tom.
So the late money today comes in on Barbaro, the favorite, making him 1 to 2 instead of on Sweet Northern Saint. There he is, who has been holding steady at 8 to 1. Starting to line up now, making their way toward the starting gate. Mile and 3/16, a 16th shorter. What problems does that present going shorter than the Derby? First time most of them had run 1.25 miles, now you drop back.
Normally, it wouldn't make a big difference, just a 1/16 of a mile, because they've got 3/16 of a mile run into this turn, allows them plenty of time to get into that turn. But with all 3 of these guys, it looks like they're all going to send. I'm surprised that Edgar has warmed this horse up as much as he did. Last time he did this was in the Florida Derby when he had to overcome a bad post on the outside to get over close into the turn.
Well, the track a little bit delayed getting them to the gate for the start of the Preakness, but as they begin to load in, there's Barbaro, the favorite, 1 to 2 into the starting stall number 6 with Edgar Prado aboard, and Sweet Northern Saint giving the assistant starters a little bit of a problem. Tom Durkin has the call of the 131st Preakness.
Ridley's Legacy moving into post position number 4. And then Bernardini, and the last horse to load will be Long Shot Diabolical. Most figure that Like Now, breaking from post position number 1, will be the pacemaker here in this year's Preakness. But Diabolical on the outside, he's got a little speed too. We'll see what happens. All eyes on post position number 6 as Barbaro leaves from there. In the gate, ready for the start, and Barbaro broke through the barrier. Barbaro broke through the barrier, and that does not bode well for the favorite here. It just jogged off just a few feet. The outriders are right there to pick him up. Now they're going to bring him back behind the starting gate. Gary Stevens has been in this position before, and Gary, this is not a plus.
No, it's not a plus, Tom, and I'll tell you what, it's a bad feeling in just a normal race, let alone a classic. You know, these gates are usually held together with very, very strong magnets. There's a huge amount of power that's going through these gates, and it takes a pretty good force to break open those gates. And as he lunges forward, he probably hears a noise, and that's his cue to go. You see him here. He gets it with his knees a little bit. It doesn't look like anything too serious. And you know what? They're very, very lucky that the assistant starter did let this horse go the way he did right there. They're getting him back in. No harm, no foul, it doesn't look like here.
Well, he's been on his toes all afternoon. Let's go back to Tom Durkin.
Once again, ready for the start of the 131st Preakness Stakes. Like Now's a little fidgety in there. Came away rather cleanly, and Like Now, and Garrett Gomez is intent on that lead. He sends him right from the beginning. And Sweet Northern Saint is going to run with him. Bernardini is away third. On the outside, Diabolical is fourth. Barbaro, I believe he's being pulled up. Barbaro is being pulled up. An astonishing development here. Barbaro is being pulled up by Edgar Prado. He is out of the race and out of the Triple Crown. He appears to have injured his right rear leg. His right hind leg appears to have been substantially injured. In the meantime, the Preakness field continues on without Barbaro. Like now has run an opening quarter in 23 1/5 seconds. Sweet Northern Saint is running in second. Brother Derek in the mix. He's up with the vanguard. He is moving early. Through a half mile, 46 3/5 seconds. A bit slower than the Derby, but serious nonetheless. Bernardini is running in fourth. Diabolical is fifth, 6 lengths back to Platinum Couple, followed by Hemingway's Key and Greeley's Legacy. In the meantime, Barbaro has been pulled up. The saddle has been removed as the field moves into the far turn. Into the far turn now as they round the far turn after 3/4 in 1:10-1. Like now, confronted by Sweet's Northern Saint. Those two head-to-head. Bernardini is rallying, and he is rallying boldly. And Brother Derek is struggling mightily now, back to fourth. Diabolical fifth toward the inside. And now the field turns for home. Bernardini rolls up to Sweet Northern Saint. Like now has capitulated, and it is Bernardini in front. Sweet Northern Saint cannot stay with Bernardini. Bernardini strides away from the field at the 8th pole, in front by 4. Sweet Northern Saint, no real response for him. Brother Derek and Hemingway's Key. It is going to be Bernardini to win this Preakness. A bittersweet Preakness it was. A 6-length win over Sweet Northern Saint, followed by Hemingway's Key and Brother Derek as they all pass the stricken Barbaro, I should say. The final time was tepid, 1:54.3.
All right, Tom Durkin, that's Barbaro pulled up as they pass the stands for the first time. Michael Matz has made his way down from the grandstand, tending to the horse. When Edgar Prado sensed something was wrong, he pulled him up, and it appeared to be his right hind leg that was injured. You see him holding it up there, gingerly. And I guess things just weren't right with Barbaro all afternoon. They had to saddle him sort of on the fly, kept him walking. He was bouncing up and down in the warm-up, and as they made their way toward the starting gate, he broke through the gate, and then by the stands the first time they pulled him up. And I'm sure it's a nauseating feeling for all of us, but especially for his connections.
Well, it's the worst feeling there can be when that happens. And you know, the way when a horse warms up like this, I didn't notice anything unusual. Sometimes they're touting you that they're feeling very, very good. Other times they're touting you that something is amiss. We can't talk to them. They can't talk to us. And obviously, this happened shortly after the start, and he took a bad step. But it's hard telling if this was something that had developed earlier today or just happened when he took a bad step. We're going to watch a replay coming out of the starting gate here. He gets away very, very cleanly, actually much better than he did in the Kentucky Derby. Sweet Northern Saint starts to come over a little bit there, no contact at all, and there's no apparent problem at all up to this point. He's in good position. Looks like Edgar is happy with where he's at. Right there, you see him take the bad step, and you know, this is not a good injury here, and let's just hope that it's something that you know, can be tended to in the proper way. But again, Edgar was confident with his position, and thank goodness that Edgar was on him. He's heads up. There's nobody better in the business, and he got him pulled up as quickly as possible. And I want to tell you, when you have an injury on a hind leg like this, it's so difficult. Edgar is actually the fourth leg for this horse when that happens. He's picking the horse up, and he is... Michael Matz immediately sees that there's a serious, serious problem, and you know, it's just devastating. Edgar Prado right there, very, very emotional. With Peter Brett, the assistant trainer, and you know, this is a serious injury, and he's got the best in the business looking after him right now, so hopefully everything will be tended to in the proper way.
They're going to load him into the equine ambulance. And, of course, it takes the luster off the victory by Bernardini, but the very talented and inexperienced colt who certainly realized his potential today. Let's go to Donna.
Well, Tom, it's unfortunate about Barbaro, but the thing about horse racing is that there's still a winner. And Javier Castellano is a winner, and the crowd is cheering for him right now as he comes back. Javier, you just got your first Preakness on a very lightly raced colt. Congratulations on your first Preakness.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you very much. Yes, I did. That's my first Preakness.
Did you expect to see this kind of race from him? I understand that Barbaro pulled up in the race, but there were still a lot of nice horses in this race. Did you expect this kind of performance?
I really feel bad for Barbaro. You know, really nice horse. He got a lot of credit, but that's a race. Sorry for my command, be honest and proud. My horse is really nice. He looking good today in the post-parade. I love it. He doing very well, and he showed out today.
At what point of the race did you feel like I'm on the winner?
I was riding the 3 April. I have plenty horse. I know the two horses right in front. They fight each other, and I know I have a plenty horse. I wait to the quarter, but when I asked my horse, he took off.
Did you know from the onset, or when it happened anyway, that Barbaro had pulled up?
I don't realize it. I was very close to the lead, and Barbaro was right behind me. I don't realize that Barbaro he got hurt in the first time.
So as at the 3/8 pole, when you look back and you didn't see him coming, you felt pretty good?
Yeah, that's exactly what it did. I tried to wait for Barbaro, but I never see Barbaro is coming out. I say, no, it's time to go, and my quarter pole is right there. I got to go, and that's exactly what it did.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dana.
Tommy's by AP India. I don't think the 1.5 miles is going to be a problem.
Not at all. Here he is down the stretch, passing Sweet Northern Saint.
A little bit of a bump there as he went past Sweet Northern Saint, but Javier gave this horse a terrific ride. He's sitting just off of the pace, and you heard what he said. It was just a matter of waiting until the quarter pole and asking him for his best. And I'll tell you what, for a colt that's only having his 4th out today, this is a very, very impressive effort. The last quarter of a mile here.
Giving Javier Castellano and Tom Albertrani the victory at the Preakness in their first try. And for an update on Barbaro, who has been loaded into that equine ambulance, let's go to Bob.
All right, Tom, attending veterinarian Dr. Larry Bramlage is alongside of me. And what have you seen of the horse so far? Can you make any conclusions from what you've seen so far?
Well, it's his right hind ankle. And it looked like a significant injury because as he pulled up, he was protecting it very gingerly. And, of course, we need x-rays. I can't tell from just looking at the horse what's going on, but we need the x-rays to see what's happening.
Tell us about the process itself. What's happening now? Where are they taking Barbaro, and what exactly are they doing?
They put a first aid splint on him and loaded him on the ambulance. Of course, he's full of energy because he's ready to run. So the first thing they'll have to do is calm him down. And they'll take him back to his stall and radiograph him and see what the extent of the injury is.
So he'll be sedated, then x-rayed?
Absolutely. You'll have to tranquilize him to get him under control because he's still wanting to run the race.
This may be a difficult question, but in your experience, what you know is vast here at the racetrack, how worried are you about Barbaro right now, Dr. Bramlage?
Well, one of the difficult things to know is with the extent of the soft tissue and all of that. I would anticipate that this is going to be a significant injury and probably career-ending from just what I saw on the track. But more than that, it's nothing but speculation. I would anticipate that as quickly as jockey got him pulled up, that there'll be an attempt and probably a reasonable chance of saving his established.
One quick question, and I hate to ask it. Is it life-threatening?
Well, we can't tell that without radiographs right now. But generally, from what I saw, I doubt it.
Okay, thank you. Larry Bramlage on the scene here after this horrific scene down here at Pimlico. Tom?
Thanks, Bob. And we'll keep our fingers crossed for Barbaro and hope Dr. Bramlage is correct in that speculation, which it is speculation right now. No time yet to know the full extent of this injury. Edgar Prado, hats off to him. He did a marvelous job of doing what he could to stop the horse and stop his momentum and preventing any further injury. It was a heroic effort by Edgar Prado to get him pulled up. So Barbaro on his way back to be x-rayed in the equine ambulance here at Pimlico. Albertrani, who is the former jockey, trains Bernardini, who pays $27.80. He races in the Darley Silks of Sheikh Mohammed of Dubai, is named for a European race driver, A.P. Bernardini. Sweet Northern Saint second, and Hemingway's Key got third. And we'll have a latest update on Barbaro when we return to Pimlico. It was Bernardini that wins the 131st Preakness. Well, Snoopy 2 overhead, giving us a better perspective of all the action at Pimlico today. And we invite you to visit MetLife.com to learn how MetLife can be a great partner for you. The Preakness Stakes goes to Bernardini, only his 4th career start. The black-eyed Susans draped over his withers. Javier Castellano in the saddle. It's the first non-Derby horse in the last 23 Preakness events to win the race. In fact, the last time was 2000 when Red Bullet upset Fusaichi Pegasus. And back in the stable area, the equine ambulance with Barbaro aboard. And Barbaro breaking down and pulled up by Edgar Prado. And I said earlier, it just kind of was an unsettled time, it seemed, before the race. Do you think that had anything to do with the eventual problem?
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's just my opinion. But, you know, he knocked that gate open with his nose and with his front hoofs. And he came away cleanly, and the horse was moving very, very soundly when they took him back behind the gate to reload. So, in my opinion, that had absolutely nothing to do with the hind ankle injury. But one thing that happens so often is if there's a front leg injury, perhaps he was trying to get off something on the front end and put too much stress on the back end to cause this problem. But that's all speculation.
He just seemed very eager all afternoon. Well, big winner, of course, Bernardini showed us he did have that great potential. This look of the race brought to you by Vonage, our Vonage Race Replay.
Here you see your winner, number 8, Bernardini, breaking very, very cleanly and comes away quiet. Down to the inside of him in the blue silks there with the NBC silks, the peacocks. Barbaro, he got away, Brother Derek got away very, very poorly, but moving into the first turn here, Javier Castellano in a great spot, lane 3rd. And one thing that surprised me was the speed duel that pursued from here. Like now, they weren't going that fast, but this race set up really, really well for Bernardini, lane 3rd at this point as they're making it around the first turn. Quinta Sormo laying in a good spot with Sweet Northern Saint, who's laying in 2nd right now, your eventual winner. Bernardini in a good secure spot. Brother Derek looks like he might have got a little bit ranked turning into the backside. That's him just ranging outside of our eventual winner there. And we see our top 3 finishers in the frame right now. Javier Castellano does an excellent job right here. As I'd said before in the Charles Schwab highlights, you want to be patient on this racetrack. He let these 3 guys go up ahead of him. And as I said, Sweet Northern Saint doing all the dirty work up in front, putting pressure on Like Now. And this is going to set it up just perfectly for Javier Castellano. Again, he's riding this race like a guy who's a veteran of riding this race 20 times. Saved ground all the way around that final turn until it was time to ease him out at the quarter pole. They've just approached the quarter pole here. He's sitting with an armful of horse underneath him. And when Javier actually takes a peek back right there to see if there's any competition, there's absolutely nobody coming to him. And when he asked him, it was over with in a matter of 3 strides. And it was just a matter of how far he wanted to win the race from here on in. 1/8 of a mile to go right now, and it was just an absolute trouncing from there on in.
And, of course, it means the longest string without a Triple Crown winner will continue. It's been since affirmed in 1978. And Tom Albertrani on the right, the former jockey, the former Bill Mott assistant, who spent some time in Dubai from 1995 to 2003 as an assistant trainer, gives Sheikh Mohammed his first American Triple Crown victory with Bernardini, the AP Indy colt, who sprints to victory here. Bernardini is a horse that we said had so much potential, and he realizes it today as we looked at our Vonage race replay. Let's go to Kenny Rice now for an update from the barn area. Kenny?
All right, Tom, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes now since Barbaro was taken off the ambulance. He is just around the corner here of the barn near his stall 40, and that is what we know at the moment. You heard Larry Bramley's talking with Bob Newmeyer about taking x-rays. We expect that will come. Michael Matz is tending to his horse. At the moment right now, security guards have been brought out to help extend the parameters here for where we can actually stand, because a lot of the media are coming back now waiting to talk to Michael Matz. And that ambulance just over my shoulder, by the way, that's a human ambulance. They've actually brought that in to try to keep people from getting closer to the barn. Michael Matz right now tending to Barbaro. That's what we know at the time. and we'll keep you posted. We find out something in the next few minutes, Tom.
All right, Kenny, thank you very much. So Bernardini is the winner as we see the complete order of finish. Bernardini, 3-year-old colt by AP Indy out of Cara Raffaella by Quiet American, bred in Kentucky by the owner, Sheikh Mohammed's Darley stable. Fact is, Dam Cara Raffaella was second in the Black-Eyed Susan Stakes here at Pimlico. And he wins the Preakness as we look at the ambulance and the painting of the Darley colors on the weather vane aboard the cupola. And we'll hear from the winners when we come back to Pimlico. Barbaro was pulled up with an injury. For an update, let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
All right, back with Dr. Bramlage. The results of the x-rays are in. What can you tell us?
Well, he has a fracture above and below the ankle. It's a serious fracture. He's likely to go to New Bolton Center. That's a preliminary word up the University of Pennsylvania. This will require a pretty major surgery. They're assessing right now whether he did much damage to the blood supply to the area, because that's the next key thing when you have a horse that has this kind of injury. And that would be something we'd have to be concerned about as being life-threatening if he damaged the blood supply as well as the fracture.
Because obviously operating on a human being is a little bit different than operating on a racehorse.
Absolutely. You can't put him in bed. I mean, this is an injury that you or I would absolutely be in bed and being cared for 6 weeks. It's much more difficult to stabilize a horse. So we'll have to see what they have to work with.
Bottom line, keep your fingers crossed.
Keep your fingers crossed and say a prayer.
Tom Hammond?
All right, Bob, and that's the scene back where Barbaro is being tended to. And it'll be a subdued celebration in the winner's circle, but nevertheless, Bernardini has proven that he is something to be reckoned with and will be so in the future. Let's go down to the winner's circle now, where Bob Costas will preside on the winner's circle ceremony.
All right, Tom, and as you said, this is a somewhat more subdued winner's stand, victory stand than we usually see in a Triple Crown horse race, as Tom Durkin called it, a bittersweet Preakness because of what happened with Barbaro. Nonetheless, Bernardini is the winner, and the protocol indicates that we introduce the chairman of the board of Magna International, Frank Stronach. Frank?
Well, hello, everybody. It's a bit of a sad time, to see when such a great horse breaks down. That's very sad, but nevertheless, that's horse racing.
Joe DeFrancis is the CEO of the Maryland Jockey Club, and he will introduce Governor Robert Ehrlich for the presentation of the vase.
Well, Bob, on behalf of all of our team at Magna Entertainment Corporation, first I'd like to say that certainly all of our prayers are with Barbaro and his connections, and we have our fingers crossed and are praying that he makes a recovery. But we want to extend congratulations to all the connections of Bernardini on a spectacular victory. It was really an overpowering performance today, and it's a real privilege now for the presentation of the Woodlawn Vase, which is the most valuable trophy, Bob, in all of sports. Our outstanding leader, Maryland's great governor, the Honorable Robert Ehrlich. Governor?
Bobby, this is our Super Bowl, and John, you are now part of our proud Preakness tradition. Congratulations, we're very happy for you.
Thank you so much.
And I have the Woodlawn Vase for you at this time.
John Ferguson from Darley Stables is the representative of Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai and the owner of Bernardini. Your thoughts after the Preakness victory?
Fantastic. Fantastic. I'd like to say, first of all, how sorry we feel for connections of Barbaro and hope the horse is okay. Having said that, Bernardini's put up a spectacular performance. Sheikh Mohammed, who is ruler of Dubai, is so sorry that he can't be here tonight or today, but he's got long commitments that he hasn't been able to break. And I'd just like to say thank you to the people of Baltimore and everybody who's put on this fantastic event. It's a huge honor to be here and a great privilege. Thank you very much indeed to everybody.
John, thank you and congratulations. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
All right, thank you, Bob. And Bernardini did put on a spectacular race, and Javier Castellano, a spectacular ride, a very patient ride. You broke well, you laid back off of the pace. You even saw Brother Derek went right by you. You told me you were kind of sitting and waiting for Barbaro. Here's where you make your move, right here.
Yes, I did, Mike. I waved the best I can my horse. I know I got really good horse, and I want to ride a lot of patience. Patience, confidence, that's exactly what I did with today. I'm looking for Barbaro. I wasn't realizing Barbaro, he got hurt in the first time. But I still wait for the 3 April, and I got so much horse I got to go, and that's a quarter, but that's my race.
Right, and you did have so much horse. Trainer Tommy Abertrani, you were sitting there watching the race. You said for a moment you were a little bit upset that you thought that he was getting outrun on the run down the backstretch.
Not really upset. I was a little concerned when I saw him get passed by Brother Derek. I thought maybe we weren't running our race.
Placards,
even carrots and apples that have been sent to what everyone hopes is Barbaro's temporary home at the intensive care facility at the University of Pennsylvania's George D. Widener Hospital for Large Animals, located on the new Bolton Center campus in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, where Barbaro underwent a long and complicated surgery Sunday afternoon, where a team of surgeons attempted to repair his shattered right hind leg. We have our own Janine Edwards, who is on site at Pennsylvania and files this report.
Well, Randy, Barbaro arrived here at the New Bolton Center in Pennsylvania at about 9 p.m. Saturday night via ambulance from Pimlico. He was admitted to the large animal hospital here. He was placed in a stall. They said he did very, very well overnight, better than expected. He had the large bandage and splint on his leg. They said he was able to lay down and get up on his own during the night. And then at about 1 p.m. on Sunday, his surgery began, and his surgeon, Dr. Dean Richardson, explained to us before the operation that he was basically heading into uncharted waters. He said this is going to be a very difficult procedure because this injury is very severe. Well, after the 6-hour procedure was over and after Barbaro had come out of anesthesia and was recovering, Dr. Richardson gave us the update. He said that the surgery went very well, although it was a very difficult, delicate operation. He said that the bones in Barbaro's leg had been smashed into more than 20 pieces, so he actually had to put a large plate and 23 screws into his leg, after which Barbaro was placed in the recovery pool, where he came out of anesthesia via sling. He was put in the pool, and then he was brought out of the pool and put into a stall where he was able to walk on his own 4 feet. So that, of course, was a very good sign. They said he had a very good night after the surgery. They said he was able to lay down and get up, and we got an update from Dr. Richardson on Barbaro's status this morning.
He's done a couple of things that manifest his level of comfort, one of which is he actually was scratching his left ear with his left hind leg, which is his good leg. So, and he tried, when I was working with him this morning, he kind of waved at me with his left hind leg, which is his good leg. So he's feeling very good. He's walking very well in the lab. He's got absolutely normal vital signs today. All of his temperature, pulse, respiration, attitude, appetite. We have no shortage of volunteers that go out and hand pick him grass, so he's grazing at a distance. So he's doing very well.
Now, trainer Michael Matz was also here at New Bolton Center today, and he seemed to be relieved to get the news that Barbaro seems to be progressing relatively well.
I was glad he went through the operation and got out. I mean, that was a big relief at that point, and as Dean said, it's still a long way to go, and at least we've got the first step accomplished.
So, Randy, in the days and weeks ahead, it's still going to be a guessing game. Dr. Richardson is still saying that Barbaro is 50-50 for survival because the threat of infection or other complications is still very real. But at this point, he seems to be defying the odds, and that has everybody very optimistic.
Dr. Richardson reporting this morning that Barbaro doing better today than he was yesterday after a surgical procedure that lasted nearly 7 hours. In fact, Dr. Richardson said he was so tired after that procedure that he actually misspoke. He was corrected by one of his surgical assistants. There were not 23 screws placed in Barbaro's right hind leg. There were actually 27 screws that were inserted. Now, well-wishers to Barbaro can contact him, believe it or not, by email to send messages at that email address, www.vet.upenn.edu. Dr. Richardson joking that he felt that announcement was a bit premature because he hadn't had a chance to install the keyboard in Barbaro's stall just yet. Now let's go back and look at the chronicle of events this past Saturday that led to what we've been talking about, beginning at about 6:05 p.m. when Barbaro was loaded into the starting gate for the first time. Apparently he heard a loud bang when the outside horse, Diabolical, stall doors were closed, and he broke through the starting gate. Edgar Prado sensed nothing wrong whatsoever with Barbaro's stride, and veterinarians stated that it is extremely unlikely that Barbaro suffered any injury whatsoever when he did come through the starting gate, which does happen occasionally in thoroughbred racing. Barbaro was then reloaded for the start of the Preakness, which went something like this.
Barbaro came away rather cleanly, and like now, and Garrett Gomez is intent on that lead. He sends him right from the beginning. And Sweet Northern Saint is going to run with him. Bernardini is away third. On the outside, Diabolical is fourth. Barbaro, I believe is being pulled up. Barbaro is being pulled up. An astonishing development here. Barbaro is being pulled up by Edgar Prado. He is out of the race and out of the Triple Crown. He appears to have injured his right rear leg. His right hind leg appears to have been substantially injured.
A horrific scene that played out at Pimlico, approximately a furlong from the start of the Preakness Stakes, and anyone who saw Barbaro's right hind leg moving in the wrong direction after the injury knew immediately that injury was not only enough to pull him out of the race, but also obviously it was a life-threatening injury. Edgar Prado did a great job to pull him up, and trainer Michael Matz, watching with his wife Dee Dee, obviously grief-stricken, and immediately ran to the racetrack to be at Barbaro's side. On the racetrack, Barbaro was quickly attended to. An aluminum brace was placed on the injured right hind leg. He was then loaded into the equine ambulance, which is no easy task when you're talking about an injured 1,100-pound racehorse. When Barbaro arrived back at his stall shortly afterward, the aluminum brace was removed and another 4-layer pressure bandage was put on the right hind leg in order to support it as well as possible before Barbaro was sent away a little bit later in the afternoon in heavy Preakness traffic to the New Bolton Center. There is Michael Matz along with Barbaro's owners Gretchen and Roy Jackson making their way through the crowd. And here's Dr. Larry Bramlage discussing it.
The preliminary report from the ambulance is that he did fracture possibly the bone just below the fetlock.
And there is Barbaro being removed from the ambulance back at the stall with the special aluminum brace to be placed in stall 40.
He responded very well to being tranquilized. Dr. Martinez and Dr. Palmer put a very, very large, heavy bandage from his foot all the way up over his hock to the middle of his tibia, which is essentially a calf bone. It was intact. The skin was closed. He's been treated with some non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and some intravenous antibiotics, and he right now has a police escort to the highway and is on his way to New Bolton Center.
Well, obviously he's very concerned about the horse, and it's a devastating moment, but his main concern is for the horse. Barbaro is behaving like the true champion he is, and hopefully he'll get the best care possible, and he'll be all right.
He has a fracture above and below the ankle. And normally the way these happen is the one above happens first, but before Edgar could get him pulled up, the second fracture occurs, and it makes it doubly difficult for the horse to heal everything up.
Dr. Richardson later discovered that Barbaro actually had 3 fractures to deal with, including a broken sesamoid that was previously undetected. Now, Dr. Larry Bramlage is one of the world's most renowned equine veterinarians who stressed repeatedly that horses cannot survive on 3 legs. Barbaro has to stand comfortably on all 4 legs to avoid injuries to his 3 good legs. And yesterday, Dr. Bramlage elaborated more on that and about what Barbaro faces in his recovery.
The circulation in the injured limb is okay. They would have known that at the time of surgery, that if that was still a danger. So we've kind of gone through that. The founder in the opposite limb, the critical time frame is between 4 and 6 weeks, because a horse can survive a matter of days or a short number of weeks taking extra weight on one limb. But once you pass 4 to 6 weeks, that hoof wall begins to peel off. And that's a real danger time for the horse, because it's a pain of the order of peeling our fingernails off, because the horse's hoof wall and our fingernails are analogous structures. And so it's about 6 weeks that we start to worry that laminitis is a major factor, and we get by that, then we're more comfortable. Well, in the best case scenario, he'll be restricted in a stall for 2 to 3 months. And then after that time, maybe longer, they'll start a gradually increasing exercise program to strengthen the bone. And that could take up to a year to get it strong enough that you can trust him to exercise, because there's nothing that horses do worse than physical therapy. If the leg doesn't hurt, they use it. If it does hurt, they don't use it. And so you have to control them to work them into the strength that he'll need on an injured hind limb. I think it's pretty much all or none with him. If he survives and does well, he'll probably be a stallion. If he runs into complications, if he gets laminitis on the opposite foot, for instance, he might not survive. So I think it's more of a problem of can we get him through the whole scenario rather than can we make him into a stallion.
Barbaro is obviously getting the very best of veterinary care, but as you've heard, he still faces a long and difficult road to recovery. We're all hoping and praying that Barbaro wins yet again.